A strong woman makes her own world, knowing fully well that she will find like minded people to share it with. Hello and welcome back to My Fair Lady. I am Geeta Modi and I am bringing you Women with Startups from this lovely city, Surat. My guest of today is from Ahmedabad and hence the Zoom meeting. She is the founder and CEO of Altmart. This is a company which converts agricultural waste into sustainable material which are used in textiles and in packaging. Thus, it solves a dual problem, that of the agricultural waste and that of the textile pollution. Well, she has performed meritoriously throughout in her academics and has also won a lot of awards. So let's hear all about the awards and all about the journey from this very young entrepreneur, Shikha Shah. Hello, welcome Shikha to our show, My Fair Lady. So very pleased to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to meet you finally.
We are really feeling sorry we could not meet personally and we had to do this, but because of distances. But anyway, it's always better, at least we are able to talk. Great. So, of course, we want to hear all about your entrepreneurial journey and how you began your startup and how it went ahead. And you have done some wonderful work. You've got so many awards. You've done so many interviews. I think the last was with CNN. So
Yes,
all this,
yes.
we need to hear all about it. Let's hear it.
Sure, I'm looking forward to it. It has been quite a fulfilling journey, and I think the best has not come yet. So I'm really looking forward to how things go yet.
Right. So how did you start? Can you tell us how you began your whole concept, from where you got the idea and how did it move forward and all that?
Yeah, the way people see Altmet now, like a company that transforms waste, agriculture waste, into alternative materials, it did not happen overnight. Like, this idea was not the idea that we started with, and there was not one incident that led me here. It is probably all over my life. So the earliest I remember was probably me being 10 years old, and my father is also an entrepreneur, and I had a chance to go to the inauguration of one of his factories where they convert automobile waste, like batteries, back into metals. Now, because his team was very kind to me, they did walk me around, even as a 10-year-old, to make me understand what recycling means, what pollution means. And that was my first introduction to waste to value segment, my first introduction to something called recycling, what pollution is about, how circular economy is. So those was quite early days. Not many people were talking about it. But I was so impressed by it. I was so impacted by it that at school I started taking up a lot of projects in climate change, into climate solutions, and as and when you go out representing your school in such competitions, it kind of gets into its own snowball effect where you start to learn more about climate change, climate action. So I grew up pretty close to this subject. I grew up in a way which kind of made me sensitive towards this subject. Only later, when I was doing my undergrad, and I was so much about entrepreneurship, I knew that I want to take that one thing as a life, as a career option. So in the last year of my undergrad, in a subject called entrepreneurship, we were asked to pick a random idea. And given that I come from Ahmedabad, the city which is called Manchester of India, I thought I'll read about textile supply chains. I'll work on what are the possibilities around that. It was a very random, curious idea. And while I was researching on that idea, I was exposed to the fact that how much of pollution our own textiles like jeans, your shirts, your carpets caused. And I remember very clearly I was sad for a week. I talked so much about climate action, this and that. I didn't know that such an omnipresent thing, such a thing that I had love for, is also one of the major contributor to pollution. And back then, I used to debate a lot about Pareto's principle, which says that if you solve 20% of the thing, you can kind of get 80% of the impact. And this kind of made sense. So this was probably a problem where I felt that a solution to a problem like this can be a bigger solution, not just in terms of impact numbers, in terms of how much product you create, but also the stories that you kind of make it reach to people, right? Like when I say about textile, it reaches you. You wear those clothes as well. You uses that carpet as well. So it's an interesting idea. It stayed with me. I moved on to America to study my master's, and America was talking about legalizing hemp, industrial cannabis, and things like that. And there, I was kind of appalled. Why would an economy talk about legalizing hemp or cannabis? I come from Ahmedabad, even alcohol is banned here. So it was more of a cultural question that why would you do that? So instead of judging it, or instead of giving my beliefs an upper strata kind of feeling, I thought I'll read about it. I'll see what's the economic impact of such plants. And again, just curiously took that up as one of the school projects and realized that, oh, there are so many angles to that plant. But while studying agriculture, we got to realize there's agriculture waste. And that agriculture waste has certain types of uses which can be put into textile materials. So I would say these were the three stories of my life, which is learning about recycling at a very early age from my father, taking up a textile supply chain project, and then taking up an agriculture supply chain project, which later on came together, the dots got connected to slowly and steadily form this idea. Again, even once the idea was on page, it wasn't as clear as this. Over last few years, we were very truthful to design thinking. We iterated a lot, we interviewed a lot of people, we worked with an entire supply chain to understand what really is the problem. And beyond idea, we then moved on to build a technology, tested in a lab, build a pilot factory that we worked out with number of big players to test, does this even work? Does the market want it? Once all of that was done, we've now finally put an industrial scale factory which can take these materials to scale like never before. So it has been quite a journey of its own. And yeah, not an intended one, but definitely a curious one, definitely not something that happened just by chance, but a lot of choices and curiosity out there.
Great. It's amazing to hear this story. So now that you have got the whole idea that you can convert the agricultural waste into textiles. So do you think these textiles are like the breathable fabrics? Like, there are fabrics which sometimes don't breathe and they are just there because you have used the waste and, you have put it to use. But are these the ones where you can use it to make actually breathable clothes, fashionable clothes, something which can be used maybe in the ramp or, for designers and stuff like that? So is it that type of material?
Yes, it is. It's a functionally superior material. It does have properties like breathability, some properties that even the old materials, like ever existing materials like polyester and cotton wouldn't have. Like, it is naturally antibacterial. So a short answer is yes. A little philosophical answer to that would be, we do not think that your story of sustainability or goodness is something that can overlook the performance. So though these materials are sustainable, are inclusive, they are excellent at what they do. They do not compromise on the merit of their performance. So they are both. They are high performing and good for earth materials.
So do you know any one person who is quite popular and known to people who has used this type of a fabric and you felt proud, that I was a part of in this and, I've contributed to making this and now it has reached so far? So do you know of any such person?
Right, so these materials are being tested by some of the finest companies around the globe. Some of them are Fortune 500 companies, some of them are the global brands that are revered by conscious customers across the globe. So when I see these companies coming up with a report and mentioning that these are the materials where they see the future of materials, where they see the future of textiles, it kind of feels very promising and very exciting. It feels that we are writing the next chapter of materials in the times to come. Because, like, imagine polyester and cotton have been around for, polyester has been around
For decades.
Is that okay? All right.
Right. And while doing all your research and while doing so much of all this homework, do you think at any point of time there were failures and you felt that I don't want to go on and I want to stop this? And, were times like that also there in your journey?
Yeah, I think absolutely. There were so many times where on some days, or on many days, it felt that this is the end of the road. There is no road ahead. And we had to take tough decisions to pivot the company. It has not been often where I thought if I really want to do it or not, because this company has only made me more sensitive towards what we are doing. So every day it's kind of getting into understanding of more implementable innovations. So I would say yes, a lot of difficult times, a lot of times being truthful to what the insight is, being brave enough to take the pivots and change the policies, but not enough of thinking that I want to quit. Not yet.
Okay. So does your product, what you have got of converting this waste, can it be converted to anything else besides textiles?
Yes. So, for example, one of the byproducts of our factories is a material that we use for sustainable packaging and sustainable paper making and stationery. So, that is one application which we have been currently doing. There are a lot of other things that are possible and we've been working on, like biocomposites. But for now, we're sticking to textiles and packaging.
Okay. So where do you see yourself, say, 5 years from now?
We see ourselves as one of the finest alternative materials company, which is taking the materials of future to wardrobes today, which are um, making, or I would say, which is mainstreaming sustainability. So I don't only see the quantitative increase. Of course, we're going to go 10x in our production size, but in qualitative impact in kind of mainstreaming sustainable materials and making it reach to people every day.
Mm. And you think the acceptance in our country is very good regarding this, or it's just in countries abroad or globally, it is more so? Is it better in our country as well?
Yeah. So if we were to compare some of the European countries and probably also North American continent has larger acceptance towards what is sustainable. But not that things are not there at all in South Asia or in other developing regions. People have become very sensitive towards what climate can do, what balance is all about, and probably COVID is something that has accelerated that
Yes.
understanding of what balance is. So even a country like India is definitely going way forward in understanding sustainability and adopting a more balanced life.
So we have also seen that you got so many awards, and I want you to talk about them because there were so many. I thought, rather than mentioning it, I want to hear it from you because you've been you started so young. That was the biggest thing. So you've been getting your accolades right from a very young age. So tell us about the different awards that you have got.
So there's this one called Women Transforming India Award, which is given by United Nations and Niti Aayog. As the name suggests, it's for the women who are transforming the nation. I really, it was one of the high points in my life because that kind of communicated it back to the community. It also gave a certain strength and validation to me, to my parents, that hey, what I'm doing is actually out of box, but it is something that is determining what a transformed India would look like. So it's something which my mom is very proud of, and that's why something that I am really proud of as well. A few others, more from the business perspective, there's this one where we have been a part of this accelerator called Fashion for Good, which is an Amsterdam-based accelerator backed by companies like Kering, which owns Gucci, PVH, which owns Tommy Hilfiger, Adidas, and alike. So it has been a very nice experience as well because that kind of gives you an insider's look from the industry, from what your potential clients want. So that has been something which has really helped me accelerate the way we think and design this company. And a third one is more of, I would say, more from the community perspective. We've been associated with this incubator called GUSAC out here in Gujarat. And that one place has given a number of recognitions. Gujarat government has been involved, but one of the most beautiful thing is a sense of community. So when I go out there, I meet a lot of other entrepreneurs who are facing the same problems, who are going through the same kind of feeling. So instead of that award, I would say it's that community that I have been gifted with by them. So these are the three that I would want to talk about. These have been really good achievements.
Great, great. So now we'll go to the fast track or sort of quick questions which I'll ask you. That is just little fun. So you can tell me simple things like, if you had a superpower, what would you like to have?
Okay, probably I would say the superpower, the ability to travel in a moment. So even if I want to go to Paris right now, and if I could cover that distance in a second, I would be at so many places
I
without wasting
so
so much of.
agree. Yes, I so agree. Okay.
Yeah, that's something like.
Yes, it can be. So if a movie was made on your story, who would you think can play you best from the current lot of actors?
Okay, I would say Anna Hathaway, because she has been featured in this film called The Intern, and I relate
Yes.
a lot with her.
You relate with that. It was amazing,
Yes.
right? Okay. And what are the 3 points that you have imbibed from your parents? The 3 sort of, totally something which you feel your parents have given that to you.
They are very intelligent genes, so they're both very smart. I think that kind of smartness has been translated both into me and my brother. So that's one thing. I've learned a lot of discipline and consistency from my mother. So even when I was a kid, she would probably make sure that my hours of study, my hours of play are same across the week. And I have followed that routine from, I think over years I've followed the same routine. She would be so disciplined that if I am late for my school bus, the bus should go. She wouldn't even ask them for a second. So yeah, that discipline and consistency has come from, and probably also my sense of ambition that comes from my father.
Okay, wonderful. And if what is it that really tells you to wake up and get up and go on a Monday morning?
I think the promise of Altman, like the way companies charting out, and the point knowing that it's such a glorious attempt that even if you fail, it's going to be an excellent story of how do you pull in threads of impact and profit into same plate. So that promise of being good while being profitable is very interesting, and I want to build that story. I really want this company to provide what it stands for. So that's kind of something that I really look forward to on Monday mornings.
Wonderful. Now you get to ask me a question and I get to give you some Gita Gyan.
Yes. Okay. I have been reading about you, and you have been through so many ups and downs, and you're totally an example of so many things that people should not think about, right? Like age, failure. Like, you're so much about a ball of this positive spirit. But I'm sure that there might have been a moment, a story, which was your totally a low point story. What was that low point story, and how did you sail through it?
Yes.
What was the mantra that you used to sail
Yes,
through it?
yes. So the lowest point in my life had been when I had my own hotel, which I sold to Country Club, and the lowest point was at a point of time when my hotel was in such a bad situation where we had no money to pay to the banks, and the bank was going to auction off my property. And that was the day where I was sitting one fine evening and thinking, that this can't happen, it's just not possible, and there has to be a way out. And all of a sudden, there was something that came to my head, and I started writing. And I just wrote down so much. I wrote about 4 pages of it, and I put all that writing into an envelope and marked it private and confidential, and sent it to the senior most, I mean, the India head of our bank who was in Delhi. And it went by courier that night itself. And then I got an appointment with him, which I was trying to get since almost a year. And because my account was bad, and nobody was letting me meet him and stuff like that. But I did get to meet him, and then the whole U-turn happened, and everything came, fell into place slowly and steadily. It did take time, but that was the first thing which I said it has to be there, something has to happen and something has to change. And writing down all of it point wise, how we began, what was our vision, what we look at, where we were not getting the help which we wanted from them, where, they can and they could do it, and what all prospects are there for the future, and how much we can succeed if this was given to us. Everything was like, it was just poured out like in 4 or 5 pages, and it was a handwritten thing, and I can't imagine. And he was also very, I think he must have understood, because when I wrote private and confidential, they got that note. When it went on a company letterhead, they never gave it to him. So probably that was one thing which worked for me. And the second thing is, I think I've always been a never, never, never give up sort of a person until you reach somewhere. So, you never give up. I don't know, somehow if something is not completed, you keep trying, even if it takes all night, if it takes all day, if it takes all month, if it takes all year, whatever, that was, you never sink, you always swim. So that sink never comes in, just the swimming part comes. So that attitude I had developed from a very young age, because I think I have been the only child. I have no brothers and sisters. And I faced a lot of issues in my own personal life. So I think that made me fight, to make my place, make my niche, make my sort of little spot where people could know that, yes, she is there to mean something and not just there. Because at our time, the woman entrepreneurial definition was very different. People who worked from outside the house, and that also being a single woman, everything, rose eyebrows and passed a lot of comments and made a lot of judgments and everything. So that scenario was very different. But I think you don't need to go and justify yourself to anybody. You just do what you're going to do. And only your family needs to know. Nobody else matters at that point of time, just your family. Once your family is with you, it just works, like, as long as they know what you're doing, you have to answer them and you have to be truthful to them and yourself. So I think that was the time which made things happen, and then sky was the limit. So then just things.
It's so beautiful, right? It's so beautiful that even in the odd times, you're looking to, okay, how can I solve these odd times? So letting the problem being the ruling mindset, you're kind of shifting to, how can we solve this?
Yeah.
How can we do the next
problem? Everybody knows, but it's a solution that you want. So whenever anybody talks, so problems everybody knows of. It's the solutions that you want. So whenever people talk about problems, I always say, don't even mention that. Look at the solutions. You keep talking problem, you'll never find a solution. If you talk solution, you'll always find a solution. Is that?
Absolutely, yeah. that's beautiful, right? Like shifting that mindset takes a lot of resilience, a lot of self-esteem, and I'm very sure that you kind of stand for both of them.
Thank you, my dear. So we are going to end this with your mantra of life, and so go.
Yeah, I think prioritize merit over everything. If there's a problem, look if there is something that you can do with your own skills, own abilities. Know what is in your control and kind of take charge of that part, which is often you have control only on yourself. So take charge of being meritorious on your own.
Wonderful. Really, really wonderful, Chika. I'm so impressed. I've really enjoyed talking to you. It was great knowing all about you, and I wish you all the very best in your future, in your project, and whatever you have dreamt for. May God bless you and you reach all the possible heights that you have thought of.
Thank you so much. And I must tell you that you're very inspiring. I haven't come across many females when I was a child who are so strong and people who stand for themselves. I'm grateful that my mother is one, and I'm so glad that I met you. It's super inspiring. I'm looking forward to keep in touch.
Of course. Thank you so much, and thank you for talking to us, though the distance was there. But yes, we shall be connected, stay connected, and we shall meet up at some point of time. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right.
So we met Shikha Shah, and what wonderful insight for a person so young. I hope you enjoyed this interview. Do put in your comments, do subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you again with another guest, another startup, another story. Till then, be fit, stay healthy, and remain awesome.